Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Logan.
Welcome to the Rangers Journey.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode from the Rangers Journal Scout Department on this very busy, very hectic January transfer window. Video went out with me and Stephen at the weekend there, and then obviously I think we might have mentioned where we're going to move on to centre halves, but developing times, we are now going to be looking at attacking options because it seems to be we're in the market for either a winger or a player who can maybe play multiple roles across the kind of forward line. So we've got a few players to look at tonight. I'm joined once again by Stephen. Stephen, how are we, mate?
Good, mate. I'm good. Yourself?
Good, mate. All good. And joined all the way from Poland. Is this a debut? We're also joined by Andrew. Andrew, how are we, mate?
I'm good, thanks. It's a debut for scouting, but I have been on the normal pod a couple of times, so not a new face for the audience. But it's good to be on a more specific pod to my interests.
Same as myself, mate. I started on the pods and worked my way over. So as I said, guys, we'll load this up. Attacking players, some who have been linked with the club. I think most of them actually have been linked with the club, and then we've got some graphs, some comparisons that will kind of draw you in, I think. So first two we are going to look at Joe Pirot, or Pirot. He's been linked probably more hilariously with Celtic than us, but a striker / attacking midfielder hasn't played many games for Leeds this season. Leeds are also looking at Strand Larsen, so seems to be one it could be on for a loan. He's 26, Dutch, left-footed. I say plays for Leeds, 6'1", market value, €15 million. Contract expires June 2027, so next summer. And then last season in the Championship, Pirot played 46 games, 3,327 minutes. He scored 19 goals. That's kind of 0.51 per game on it. Average. His XG was 19.63, 0.53, so goals to expected goals, pretty much bang on. He's expected assists, 2.77, 0.08. Goal conversion rate, Stephen, we spoke about this before, 20.43%, very, very good. 2.52 shots on target 2.52 shots per game, 44.1% of those on target. We averaged 3.38 touches in the opposition box per 90 minutes. Offensive duels last season on average 6.09, 2.35 recoveries and 20.53 passes. Before, obviously, there's two players on the screen. We'll just start with Pirot. Stephen, I'll bring you in, mate. What's your thoughts, mate, if this was an avenue that we were going to explore, Joe Pirot?
An interesting one, mate. Obviously, one you probably, unless Leeds are looking to get rid of him, which obviously there's much signs of, he's somebody that probably he's well outside our radar and probably price range as a player. Obviously this season, like you said, he's not played hundreds for them, but his numbers there, obviously for last season, you can see he's obviously a good player. Again, somebody who I don't think we'd be linked to if it wasn't for maybe the Leeds link and potentially them looking at Strand Larsen. Obviously, you'll get the comparisons, the previous players who were brought in for the Championship or Field English League players, but I think he's probably a cut above a lot of the players that you would look to bring in, and you can see obviously his stats for last season in the Championship quite high in the percentiles for his goals, assists, expected goals shot. So everything that you're looking for really for that striker that we're looking to bring in to maybe be that wee bit more clinical than what we've got there now, probably.
I would agree, mate. Andrew, I'll bring you in, mate. You in add, mate. What would your thoughts be if Rangers were taking a land Joe Pirot this window?
On Pirot, what immediately stands out to me is height, 6'1". This is something that fits something we've seen with what Rule has been going for. I think it can also tie in quite well with our focus on set pieces at the moment. Can see 64th percentile for headed goals. I mean, it's not elite, but it's good. It's something that we could benefit from quite a lot. As Stephen said, this is a player that would be out with our reach for a normal transfer, I think. So if we could get him on loan till the end of the season, I think that would be an excellent move for Rangers.
I would agree. Anytime I've watched him, as well as being kind of a big physical boy, he is very, very tidy. I would say very comfortable in possession. Obviously, it's not quite worked out for Leeds. Me and Stephen spoke about kind of Dan Nealon, how Sunderland going up too quick. Hasn't really helped him in that sense. Obviously, Joe Pro with Leeds going up. He's kind of suffered minutes-wise and would be a top championship striker. I'm assuming it was at the time before he got a move to a Premiership team where he got some minutes, but on a 6-month loan, again, I agree with you guys, it'd be an absolute no-brainer, particularly with the 3 strikers we've got at the moment. So I'll move to the right of the screen. So this one, obviously, been doing the rounds for a while, again, for both sets of clubs, probably more Celtic than ourselves. Tawanda Mashwanise, Motherwell, Zimbabwean winger, also can play through the middle. 25 years of age, left-footed. I'll say Motherwell, 5'10". Market value €700,000. It's obviously going to cost a wee bit more than that. We had a wee bit of debate on his contract today, so Motherwell have triggered a year extension, we believe. So he's got 18 months left. Is that right? Is that what we're going for?
What I gather, mate, they think the original contract's supposed to be up in June, and then potentially they had an option to extend to the next year, and I think for what I've seen, they've taken that option. So it looks like he'll have another 18 months.
So he, as it stands, I'm sure is the top scorer in the division. Since coming back from AFCON, he scored in every game for Motherwell, including the cup game at the weekend. 17 games. This is this season, obviously, 1,608 minutes, 10 goals, 5.62 XG, so very much outperforming his XG. We said 2 assists as well. Expected assists is 0.93, so again, that's a slight better than what is expected. Goal conversion, we thought Perot's was good, 27.78%. Shots, 2 a game, and he's just over 1 out of 2, 52.8% on target. We're getting 2.81 touches in the opposition box, 13.43 offensive duels per game, 3.19 recoveries, and 32.6 passes, which, having obviously watched Motherwell, I'm sure all 3 of us have watched Motherwell numerous times this season, whether live or on highlights or like during games, a team that really like to pop it. So, Andrew, we'll start with you, mate. I know you've been banging the Mashwanise drum, mate, for a while. What do you like about him?
Look at that efficiency. Goal conversion, 27.78%. That's outstanding. Shots on target, top of the league. Non-penalty goals, top of the league. This is a brilliant player at SPFL level. Fouls suffered, 91.6. I think this is the sort of player we need to be bringing in. A lot of fans like to go on about bringing in domestic SPFL players. Sometimes I think people push it a little bit too far. But Mashwanise is an example of a player that I really think we should be bringing in. We've strongly lacked goals from all parts of the front three. And I think Mashwanise can play across the front three. I'm not sure if I've seen him play on the left, but he's been playing both on the right and through a bit more of a central role for Motherwell. So that's something that Rule likes as well. He likes his players to be able to play across different positions, different kind of roles. And this sort of quick kind of winger, striker, hybrid player is something I think we're missing. We'll be talking about some of our old players later. And I think he's a similar sort of player to Sima, that he can play that out wide role, but he can also play through the centre, and he will get us goals. So yeah, as you mentioned, this is someone I've been talking about for a while. I would like to see him come to Rangers.
Yep. Stephen, bring in, mate, anything you would like to add?
No, I think Andrew obviously hit the nail on the head there. I think, like he knows the league, he'll get his goals. He's very, very efficient in front of goal, like Andrew said. So, I think he's clever as well. We watched some of the playoffs. Them although playing really good football this season, and it's probably something that over the course we've not done, and we maybe look to try and emulate eventually once we get that squad together. He would be a good player then to be on the end of any sort of sweeping moves, and his pace for me, he's rapid. When you watch him, he will burst by many defenders, particularly in this league, as he's done so far all this season. So again, mate, I don't have much more to add to what Andrew said, but I've got no doubt that he would bring a lot to the squad. Whether that's as a starting 11 player or potentially more of a squad player off the bench, getting us that impact in the final games, killing them off for us. But I do agree that he's one that we should be looking at, to try to bring in and bolster the squad with players who know this league and know how to play in it.
Aye, guys, I would agree. I think he is an obvious standout. I actually seen a clip. I don't know if it was maybe an on this day memory from a Rangers page on Twitter. A game last season at Fir Park where he scored a very, very good goal. He kind of reversed back inside Tavernier and sorted one in the bottom corner. I think he put Motherwell 2-0 up at the time. So even last season he kind of showed qualities, and obviously he's went to a completely new level this season. Scored at AFCON as well. And obviously, as I said, playing for a Motherwell team that pop it, so it's not like he's just this. Is he like a winger who is off speed and he's like sometimes his touch will let him down or he's dead erratic. If you're obviously everybody who probably here has watched Motherwell this season, you've got to be able to be good on the ball most of the time to kind of play every week. And he's obviously went to a new level under Bertolascu, so I would agree. I think we agreed as well. Probably as it stands, 3 million probably gets you him. I think Motherwell wouldn't turn that down. I think they'll play hard with whoever goes for him. But 3 million, no brainer for me. I can see where Andrew's kind of coming from with the similarities as well. So we'll leave these two to the side. Next two, I'll come up on the screen if I could get it to work. There we go. Two other players who've been linked, folks. Damir Redsic. So we'll start with him. The Hungarian winger playing for Dunajska Streda. He is a left-footed right winger. And obviously he's put ourselves amongst other clubs in this window. Contract expires next summer as well, June 2027. And these are his stats for last season. So 14 matches, played 1,252 minutes, 7 goals, from a 2.94 XG. So again, very much outperforming. 1 assist, expected assist was a bit higher at 3.23. But goal conversion 16.67%, 3 shots per game, 42.9% on target, 14.23 offensive duels, dribbles 7.12, progressive runs 4.24, and recoveries 2.35. Obviously, I didn't point this out on the last side, so when you look at the pizza graph here, Redsic is red, and our player on the right, who will come to Parque Guigon, is blue. Stephen, I'll start with you, mate. This one has been on Twitter for a wee while, Redsic. And what would your thoughts be here?
I'll be honest, the one when I was initially mentioned, it wasn't one that I had seen much of, or really heard of before. Obviously, you had a quick look on his stats and the sort of play styles he brings. Seen a few clips of him, and again, for me, as much as he's obviously not as efficient as of the two players I've just looked at, but again, a goal scoring wide man who can cut in. Obviously, he's left footed. I've seen a few goals on his left, but also on his right, so he can go both ways. So he's not just a one-trick pony where you're cutting inside and try to have a shot or try to get a pass away. If it's not working, he can go the other way. So obviously brings a wee bit of something different to the party if need be. And obviously we were kind of speaking about it earlier today, Andrew, about the sort of similarities in the league. The league it's maybe not be the best quality. I don't think Scottish League, obviously we've said it before, isn't the best quality, but it's one that often you find wingers struggle with in terms of getting space and that wee bit of physicality. But I think that's something that you would probably get out of them. Obviously coming for the Slovakian League, it is a physical place to play. So I think it would fit in, mate. Obviously you've got down the bottom there on the pizza chart, successful dribbles per 90, each progressive runs, and even his touches in the box. They're all he's the top of obviously their league for progressive runs, and his dribbles per 90 and touches in the box. So obviously an attacking player, a threat, somebody who's going to get in around the box and cause trouble for the back line and for opposition defences. So definitely one that came out the blue a wee bit for me. I hadn't heard them much, but definitely interested me off the back of what I have seen since we've been linked.
Would agree, mate. It wasn't one I'd heard as well. Andrew, I'll bring you in, mate. You got anything you want to add? You seen anything else of him?
I've not watched this player, so I can't really comment on him too much. But what I notice looking at the pizza chart is his XA is very high, whereas his assists are quite low. So perhaps his teammates, his strikers, are letting him down a little bit. He is creating high quality opportunities, obviously. Obviously, a good ball carrier based on what we're seeing there. So, yeah, I mean, I can't really be absolutely confident on him, but I wouldn't be disappointed if this is someone who ends up at Rangers. Yeah, looks like a decent enough player based on this.
I think I think you look at as well his transfer market value, which we spoke about. Obviously, you'd probably have 18 months left his contract, maybe looking at a wee bit more than the 1.5 stated there. But again, if it's going to be 2-3 million and he comes in and he does a decent job, I don't think it's a massive risk. Whereas you then go and spend, obviously a big comparison, and I know it's different positions, but spend 8 million on Jermiti in the summer there. It was a big risk on a boy who hadn't really scored in the last 2 years, and we went out and spent big money. So I think in comparison, it's probably a relatively relatively less risky transfer. If it doesn't work, then obviously you'd be disappointed. But I think the outlay would be far less, so it wouldn't be as big a risk, mate. So something else I think maybe to consider.
I would agree, mate. And it looks as if for the first time Danny Rowe and the kind of team just now try to build at least 4 wide men, 2 who can play on the left, 2 who can play on the right. Obviously, we've had good wingers over the years since Gerrard came in. Obviously, the right side pretty much between Kindeas and Czerny was non-existent pretty much. It was your Joe Aribos and stuff playing there. As I said, the kind of ex-players are going to come up later on. So I think it's good. I think depth's something we've lacked for a while. Obviously, usually we're in a pretty hectic schedule. Obviously, our European journey is going to end, so we're pretty much going to be week to week for the first time in God knows how many years. So wouldn't mind it at all, but we're going to move to the right. So we're going to look at Parfait Guigon. Again, this link has come up to us earlier in the window. He's a Ivorian winger, 24 years of age. He plays for Royal Chawa. I'm sure that's how you say it because I have been there. Belgium. Right-footed, market value 4 million. Contract is up in the summer. Stephen, he did appear. I don't know if it was one of the videos we done, but he was in amongst our out of contract slides. Might have been, was it you and Mitch? Maybe had a wee look at him then. So it's only been a couple of months, but catching attention. This season, he's played 17 games, 1,441 minutes, 6 goals from a 3.75 XG, and 2 assists from a 1.51 XG. Goal conversion, 16.22%. Shots per game is 2.3. Shots on target 2.3 per game, 40.5% accuracy. Offensive duels 13.43, 5.68 dribbles, progressive runs 3.62, 4.25 recoveries. He is a left winger, unlike Redzic, so a guy who would operate on the other side. And just to note his height, because Mitch will be raging, 5'7". So Andrew, we'll start with you, mate. If you've seen anything of Guigon or you've had a wee look, mate, what's your thoughts, mate?
So immediately, the Belgian league is a higher quality than the Scottish league, and Charleroi is not one of the stronger teams in that league, and he's putting up pretty good numbers. So I think that should be noted, especially looking at this chart. Redzic's numbers look a lot better, but we should remember he's playing for a better team in a worse league. Guigon is playing for a lower team in a higher standard of league. So, yeah, good ball carrier based on that, but also a good passer, 91.6% passing. or percentile in the pizza chart. So this is someone that looks very interesting to me, volume shooter as well. I do question if left wing is somewhere we really need to strengthen. I don't know if he's able to play across the front three, or at least on both wings. So other than that, my reservations that this is an area we need to improve on. He does look like a good player. Good number of recoveries as well, so shows he's a good presser, which I think is important in Danny Rule's system. So yeah, high percentage of shots on target. Yeah, I'd be quite happy with him. But yeah, as I said, I'm not sure if we do need to focus on the left wing. I'm not sure if you two agree with me on that or not.
Before I bring Stephen in, I can understand why people say that. Obviously, JD Gassama, he's been kind of playing on the right recently, more than anything, but I think he is probably our best left winger. Started really well in terms of efficiency and goals and assists. Has probably tailed off since start of the season, but does offer you obviously very, very good in attacking areas in terms of taking men on and winning fouls. Obviously won a penalty at Aberdeen a couple of weekends ago. Stephen, I'll bring you in, mate. Anything you want to add on Pathway Guigon?
Again, I think obviously Andrew kind of made a good point on him in terms of his numbers are very good for a player playing in a team who, for the most part, are mid-table to lower end of the table. So he's again posting good numbers for a lower end team, in a good league. So I again, left side. I think this was one maybe that was a wee bit sparsely linked to me. We weren't 100% sure whether it was true or no. Again, though, obviously if we're looking at the wingers, you'd probably potentially want to go on the right hand side. But again, somebody that posts good numbers. He looks. He strikes me as a wee bit. He looks similar to Gassama in terms of obviously on the ball. His progressive runs, his dribbling. Progressive runs off the ball. He's dribbling with the ball. His percentiles are high. One thing that he's probably stands out a wee bit more, or probably a big bit more, is his passing. His accurate passing, and he's obviously he's non-goal penalty goals for a like a lower league team is obviously good, but I think that's probably got Gassama needs to work on that for me. He is good on the ball, he can drive us forward and sort of get us up the park, take somebody on, but his decision making is obviously nowhere we would expect somebody to be. Obviously he's got a lot to improve on, but I think Guigon looks a sort of similar player, but his decision making, just going off his numbers and his stats there, looks like he'd probably be a lot more of a decisive in the forward areas, especially if he's getting more chances. Got good numbers already for a team that's probably not creating too much. If you're in a team that's wanting to be challenging for the top of the league, you're going to create more. I would suggest to me that these numbers would get better again. Obviously, was it last week, just put Club Brugge to the sword, got 2 goals against them in the cup. So obviously they've gave us a pretty embarrassing result at the start of the season. So he can do it against the big clubs within the doubt that he would perform in the bigger games for us as well.
I think it's also worth mentioning the contract expiry date is this summer. So either this is going to be a free transfer or we'll get him at a good price. I don't know what the situation is, if there's any clauses, extra year possibility for them. But if his contract's up in June, obviously there's value to be had there.
I would agree, mate. I'm again unsure about clauses, etc. But if you're going to sign him on a low cut, potentially free, and obviously there's been concrete interest in JD Gassama, that's probably one thing we've not mentioned. Villarreal and Bruges apparently both interested. So whether he probably isn't going to leave this month by a good offer, but it could be one he moves in the summer. Because obviously Villarreal are currently sitting the Champions League places in La Liga pretty comfortably, so he'd be going to a guaranteed Champions League club next season. So if you're bringing in Guigon for a cut price deal and they've got similarities, then it's just picking up where you've left off, I would say. So 2 more to go. I don't think there have been 2 who have actually been linked with the club, but 2 who are favourites among us 3 and Gordy, who does a lot of the groundwork here with these two guys. So we have Veljko Burmasevic. Some of you will realise I know him. He's played against us 4 times in his career between Sparta Prague and Malmo. He's a winger, 27 years of age, Serbian, currently at Sparta Prague, 5'10", right-footed. Market value €4.5 million. Contract up like most of them so far, June 2027. League stats for this season: 16 games played, 1,279 minutes. We've got 5 goals from 4.15 xG, 2 assists from 2.37 xG, 18.51 goal conversion rate, 1.8 shots, 59.3%, 2.41 dribbles per game, progressive runs 1.7, 7.2 offensive duels per game, recoveries 3.33, and he will be red on the pizza chat. Andrew, we'll start with you, mate, for a player on the left. What would your thoughts be here? If this Burmasevic, again, as I said, no concrete links, but a player I think we as a group are a fan of.
Yeah, so first of all, with Burmasevic, I think it's worth highlighting continental experience. He's played in the sort of matches he's going to have to play for Rangers in if we were to sign him. I'd also say there's somewhat of a comparison between the Prague clubs and the Glasgow clubs. It's a little bit different in the Czech Republic that there's also Pilsen, who are a good team. But these teams are smaller than Rangers and the other side. But I do think there's some sort of comparison there. So I feel the mentality side of things is something that wouldn't shock him. It's something that he could probably adapt to quite easily. I think that's quite important. In terms of his data, I mean, look at the second assists. I think this is an underrated metric in football. I'm really into ice hockey, and this is a very, very respected metric in that sport. I think it should be in football too. I think that's very important for a winger. They could cross the ball to someone who knocks it down for someone else for the finish. They're not getting the assist for that. They're getting the second assist for that. So I think that's a valuable metric. His passes to final third, excellent as well. A lot of goals. So this is someone I'd be interested in. I think I would prefer Maswan Hise, to be honest. But it looks like a reasonably good player playing in a strong league at a club with a high level of expectation. So, yeah, 59.3% shots on target stands out to me as well. That's a really good shot on target score for a winger.
Okay, Stephen, anything you want to add, mate?
For me, mate, obviously, Burmasevic was one that I kind of put in the slides when we were looking at attackers previously. He obviously stood out in games that we played against him. I've seen him a couple of times in like the Conference League and that in Europa League for Prague. He stands out in terms of obviously posts good numbers, but again, I think he's very good on the ball, in tight areas, getting by players, creating stuff that are maybe no nothing, but creating stuff where players like say we've brought in previously, for example, I think Ant-Man, Sam Lammers, they've struggled a wee bit with the sort of lack of space and the lack of area to run into, whereas Burmasevic for me is one that brings the ball in well and can take a boy on in a tight space. He's not going to burst by them and beat them everybody for pace, but he's very controlled on the ball, and I would be comfortable with having him on the wing and getting shots off, getting crosses away. Like Andrew said, his second assist numbers there are very good. So he's obviously putting the ball into good areas for it to then be converted to somebody else. But I think for me as well, I know he's played obviously these heat map. He's played majority on the right hand side. He can play right across the front three. He's play majority on the right, coming in on his off the right wing. But if he can play on the left, he can play through in the middle. Obviously, his stature maybe stops you from doing that so much, but it's a good option to have somebody who can play across the front three. He's obviously would be a decisive sort of player in and around the box for me. I think 18.51% goal conversion, as much as it's no obviously again there's been better numbers we've seen in the slides past, but still for a winger, a decent rate. I think it would be a good one for me. I think obviously the only slight issue might be his value. If Sparta Prague value him higher than the 4.5 at his age at 27, you then start getting into, well, do we buy him? Are you going to then produce? Is he going to produce the numbers for us to sell him on? But at the same time, I think, and we said it with Cherny last season, you need to bring in that wee bit of experience as well as you can't just bring in people to sell them on and make value. You need that 26, 27, 28-year-old who's been there, done it with other clubs and knows how to push on to win things for me, I think. So it would be an interesting one that obviously I quite liked when I've seen him previously. And also the Malmo game, he kind of put us to the sword and put us at the Champions League. So big game player. Obviously knows pressure as well, like Andrew said, playing for Sparta. But it's not a small club anyway.
No, but I agree with everything you boys have said. I think there is a mirror between the Czech clubs and, well, particularly the Czech 2 and ourselves on a smaller scale. And who knows, Hearts could become the next Victoria Pilsen the way it's going, by the way. So it's not out the realms. So we'll leave him, and I know this is Gordy to the T. One of my first ever scouting videos was in Chile for here. So Lucas Cepeda, 23-year-old winger, Chilean, plays for Colo Colo. 5'10", left-footed, market value 3.2 million. I've also just noticed. I'm assuming he is not a free agent, even though his contract says that expires December 2026.
I'll just look that up.
This year.
You have a dig while I go. So this was his stats last season, 2025, and for Colo Colo. Obviously one of the biggest clubs in Chile, probably one of the biggest clubs in South America. 26 games played, 2,624 minutes, 5 goals from 5.79 XG, 5 assists from 5.6 XG, goal conversion 6%, shots 2.85, 31.3% on target, 5.76 dribbles per game, 3.91 progressive runs per game, 14.99 offensive duels per game, very, very high. Recoveries 4.39, and heat map shows probably for the first time somebody who has had to play on both sides but clearly favours the right hand side. Before we come to his contract information.
Yeah, so that's correct. He's out of contract in this December.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I was thinking December just passed. Aye. It's been a long day. So start with you, Stephen. Cepeda, mate. Talk to me.
To be honest, and God, they'll not be happy with me, but it's one that the Chilean leagues, mate, it's no one that I've watched much of. Obviously, he's got very good numbers. You can see that in the chart there. His shots per 90, 97 in the 97 percentile. Assists, obviously up there, top 6%. Progressive runs off the ball. He's the best in the league. Dribbles per 90. So obviously, does everything that you would expect for the winger. Gets it, getting on the ball, carries it well, makes runs off the ball to create space. Also getting shots away. His conversion rate is obviously 6%, which is no something that you would look at and expect him to be prolific in front of goal. But obviously you would maybe see sort of increase in his creation numbers, maybe if he's playing on the right and you get that striker in who's going to finish. But I think obviously it does look like he would maybe create a wee bit of danger for us. As well, his recoveries there as well, 4.39. So he obviously he'll get his about and do the sort of pressing that we're hoping for. So again, not somebody that I know a great deal about, but definitely obviously posting good numbers there. So would be one that if he came up in the summer, would you maybe look at him? I don't see him going anywhere now with their season obviously being finished. It's unlikely, but in the summer there, his contract comes up in December. He'd end up being a free in the January window. So maybe want to look out for. He might end up moving in the next 6 months or so. But again, not somebody that I know a great deal about, if I'm honest.
Okay, Andrew, I'll bring you in, mate. And you want to add?
Yeah, like Stephen, I don't know a great deal about Chilean football or South American football generally, but clearly a very impressive ball carrier, volume shooter. I just had a look at his stats from the Libertadores as well. He's got good numbers in the Libertadores, which is obviously a decent standard, a very high pressure environment too. So, yeah, I mean, it would be an interesting one. I'd have to watch him a little bit more to get a confident opinion because it's such a different environment. But yeah, he looks like an interesting option. I wouldn't be upset if we brought him in.
I would agree. I do watch a wee bit of South American football, but it is usually either Argentinian, the odd Brazilian, and I've watched the Libertadores when it gets to kind of latter stages, probably since lockdown because the BBC were showing it. But Colo Colo are a massive club. We have been linked to Vicente Pizarro from Colo Colo previously, who I'm sure just moved to Rosario Central for $1.2 million. So it's obviously a market somebody at some point who will still at the club or not has had eyes on. Obviously, we've seen Celtic have kind of went in there and like your Bernabes and stuff recently. Obviously, I think it would be interesting indeed. A winger on both sides, as you say, good ball carrier, hard worker. Wouldn't be adverse to that. So, sure, that brings us to the end of the 6 guys. So we're going to get into some fun stuff here. So we are going to zoom these in, but we've made 4 graphs. All 6 guys will be on it. There's also various players who have played for us across multiple seasons, and we're just going to see where they stack up on certain attacking metrics. So first up, so if you're going kind of left to right, horizontal, it's non-penalty goals per 90 minutes, and then up and down vertical is assists per 90. And I'm assuming the colours are the same for them all. So blue would have been season 2021, orange 21-22, red 22-23, pink 23-24, yellow 24-25, and then purple is this season. So either season just finished if you're Cepeda, or 25-26 ongoing for kind of all the European guys. So the first thing we all noticed here, before I'll bring these in, guys, is Fashion Sakala from his last season at the club, I'm sure. Very, very good, guys. So obviously there's a few scattered around the middle, kind of along the curve there. Andrew, we'll start with you, mate. Who do you see? What do you like?
So Perot stands out, obviously, as the best balance between the two. Non-penalty goals and assists. And now that's not surprising as the technically Premier League, well, not technically, officially Premier League player. Depends. What do we need to prioritise? Goals or creation? The problem is I think we need both. We kind of lack both, right? So we'd ideally be looking to bring in one that provides goals and one that can create goals. So Maswin Hisse obviously stands out. Further to the right in the bottom right quadrant, so he doesn't really provide assists, but he does score a lot of goals. Redzic below him as well on the same goals per 90. So again, like I said before, he would be a big priority for me. And Cepeda has a very good score for assists. Maybe that should be the priority. I don't know. Perhaps Miovski would be a lot more efficient with better service, as he was at Aberdeen. I don't know. It's hard to say. He hasn't been for us so far. Maswin Hisse still the most appealing to me, based on what I see. I don't know if you agree with that.
I think it's a very, very fair argument, mate. He's just below, but Perot, as you said, Perot probably is the standard there in terms of players you're looking at, and he's obviously just below him in terms of assists. Stephen, what do you like? Do you want to mention from days gone by, mate? Flair is yours.
Again, obviously, I think, like Andrew said, we need a wee bit of both. I think we maybe underestimate how many chances we probably do create. Maybe not so much recently. I think that a lot of chances, obviously, I seem to be up and down a wee bit, but I think we do create quite well at times. But it's just when we don't, we go very stale. You go through a stage where you don't seem to create much for a game, 2 games, and it starts to sneak in, and then you get that wee bit of turnaround and you start creating chances, but we don't right now have that clinical striker to take them. So again, obviously it's probably something that we need to look at on both sides. Like Andrew said, Masoni's number in terms of goals is there's no argument with that there. I know obviously he's quite similar to Redzic and Perot for goals there, but the difference being obviously he's doing it in the same league that we're playing in right now. So that's obviously massive. That doesn't mean he's a better player out of the three of them, but in terms of numbers that he's posting in a league that we're playing in, obviously stands out for me, mate. I think like we've already said, it would be remiss to not be going and looking at this boy and trying to entice Motherwell to take him. It would cost you a couple of million at the most, like you said, 3 million. You potentially get a good goal scoring winger, which is not something that we've had a lot of. Apart from Cherny, who's obviously numbers there, even at this stage of the season for Masonisi, he obviously numbers are slightly higher than Cherny's. Obviously, that's up as a full season always, so he's obviously posted good numbers, but with that, there's no been many wide players that are gaining us that sort of decisiveness in front of goal. So I think, mate, for me again, somebody that we should be banging the door on at Motherwell to get bring
in. I would agree. I'm just going to point out 2 things. One, for my own personal thing, I'm just going to talk about Malik Tillman for 3 seconds and just how much I miss him. The other thing I'm going to point out, if you look at the far left of the graph, the left side, you've got Arfield, Berami, McCausland, Gassama, Kent over 2 spells, Haji's kind of up there as well towards the middle. And then obviously some of them are short seasons so far, but Maswanisi, Redzic, Guigon, Basemic are all kind of creeping towards the better kind of side of the graph you want to be on. So obviously we're getting linked to it, but we seem to be making a kind of an attempt to sign better wingers than maybe what we've had. And obviously I'm not saying these players have been bad for us. Ryan Kent was a very good servant for Rangers, considering where we kind of the stage we were at when he came in and the things he offered. So good stuff for me on this front. We'll move on. So the next 2 metrics. So we are shots per 90 minutes and goal conversion percentage. So obviously a lot of these guys that we looked at there, our goal conversion was quite good for their positions. Colours are the colours are the same, so I'm not going through it again. So Stephen, I think we'll start with you this time, mate. What do you like? So shots per 90, goal conversion rate, mate. Talk to me.
Again, obviously straight away you have to look at that top left corner with conversion rate with Maswanisi. In terms of his shots, his shots are no per 90 are no massively high, but his conversion rate for the shots that he is taking is excellent. I think when you're looking at other boys that we were looking at, Redzic obviously stands out. His shots per 90 and his conversion rate are pretty decent. As a sort of balanced number. And then obviously Perot and Bermancevic, again the shots are slightly less, but got a decent goal conversion. So I think all of them, like we spoke about previously, the numbers are quite good in terms of conversion rates. And even obviously Redzic, who's taking a lot of shots per 90 for a winger, it's still a decent conversion rate for somebody who's not a striker. So it would provide goals from that wide area that we've really lacked. I think one thing I would maybe say about the sort of players that we're looking at there that have played for us, no many of them are actually wingers for me. Like you look at them and the Volpel we played left or right. Obviously you look at Roof, Sakala obviously had Joy on the left. Probably more forwards than wingers. And then you look at Hadji, Cantwell, Arfield, Bayrami, none of them are for me are out and out wingers, so the numbers are maybe not as surprising as what people would think. It's good to be linked with boys who are actually proper wingers and will provide good numbers for us.
Spot on. Andrew, anything you want to add, mate? What do you like?
Obviously, Maswin Hise's goal conversion again, but I think what Stephen was saying there is a very good point. How many of these players are really out and out wingers? Like Cantwell's on there, Aribo's on there, Asgard's on there, Tillman's on there. None of these players are wingers in my view. So it's an area that's been weak for at least since COVID. At least since COVID. But yeah, as I said, Maswin Hise being so high on that list, similar levels to Roof, and remember how good a goal scorer he was when he managed to play for us. We can get similar return to Kumar Roof. That's incredible. Also, Redzic looks really good here. Remember how good Sima was for us. Redzic looking exactly the same as him. Yeah, they're both impressive. Guillaume, as we were saying, plays at a higher level. So, and for a lesser team at that level. So a reasonably good score for him too. I'm just thinking if we can get the ball to Maswin Hise more. We don't actually have more average possession than Motherwell do. I'd looked that up while Stephen was speaking. I was hoping maybe with more possession, Maswin Hise can get more shots. But actually, we have 59.5% average possession. They have 58.8. So it's kind of 6.5 dozen there. But hopefully we can get more effective possession. Maswin Hise can get more shots per 90 with us, even more goals. So just strengthens my my desire to see the Zimbabwean come to Ibrox.
Would agree, mate. That's two so far we've looked at. He's been top dollar in both. I think if there's people listening to this and they're maybe looking at things and going, I'm not sure. See, if you think about Fashion Sakala at Rangers, you would think he's a nightmare to play against, but he takes a million chances to score a goal. So there he is, the most shots per game by some way, and obviously still had a fairly decent conversion rate, but then obviously you're looking at these guys, Maswin Hise, Tillman, Burmasevic, and obviously Taylor Asgard is flattered to deceive a lot of his time at Ibrox, but from very limited shots, the ball's hitting the net, so it is kind of interesting indeed. So we're going to move to our next graph, second last graph. So it's offensive duels per 90 minutes and then dribbles and progressive runs. As we said, guys, obviously you've kind of said it well. A lot of these guys aren't the wingers. They're guys who maybe played on the right for us. Obviously, I think Arfield, Aribo, Sakalo on the left have all done it. Cantwell done it. Seema's done it. Obviously, I think Seema probably is a winger, but did play a few games up top as well. So, again, the club have got a lot of guys up in that top right chart there with a lot of offensive duels on top of progressive runs and dribbles per 90 minutes. So, Andrew, we'll start with you, mate. Who do you like from here?
Yeah, so Redzic stands out on this one quite a lot. Obviously, a very good ball carrier. I think we noticed that on when we focused on him before. Guillaume as well. You were comparing him a lot to Gassama. It's interesting to see him right beside Gassama on that list, on that graph, sorry. So, yeah, both of them stand out the most here. I'm just looking for Maswin Hise. Yeah, so Maswin Hise is not so much of a ball carrier. We do know that. A bit more just of a goal scorer. It depends what Danny Rule needs from his wingers. Does he need ball carriers or does he need more passers, crossers, goal scorers? I guess a balance of the two. He does really love Gassama. Obviously, he plays him every week on his weaker side. So obviously he trusts him a lot. So maybe that is the sort of player he likes. Maybe that is exactly the sort of profile he wants out in the wing. So with that in mind, this is a really strong argument for Guillaume and Redzic. I also see Thepeda in there too. But yeah, obviously, like you said, a lot of these players we're comparing them to are not really out-and-out wingers. Kind of unfair to judge Pirot on this chart, I would say. It doesn't really reflect his... It doesn't really demonstrate his profile well comparing these metrics. So I would mention that in defence of Pirro being in the bottom left.
Stephen, for a company, I think the Pirro argument's fair. I think you look, obviously Kamara's in there. If you're going to play central for Rangers, it's the kind of tightest area of pitch. It's going to be hard to be running and dribbling with the ball in that kind of area, so I think that's fair. Stephen, anything you want to add, mate? What do you like? What do you not like?
No, like Andrew said, mate, I think obviously just touching on Perot being in that bottom left sort of quadrant and obviously low in the numbers, I think when you look at that bottom left, a lot of the boys are, you would probably say that they were more efficient in front of goal than the ones top right. When you look at them, Maswini's obviously good numbers for Malo, but Mancevic over the past 3 years has posted really good numbers for Prague. Roof, obviously, like we said, if he could keep himself fit, would be one of the best strikers in the league. His finishing was excellent. So I think it's obviously it's a bit of a different metric. It's probably a metric for wingers who like to get on the ball, carry it, take people on, and sort of progress and get us forward, which obviously suits the three that we spoke about with Redzic, Guigon, and Cepeda. Again, it is interesting to see. I do think Guigon looks a very similar player to Gassama. He just probably, I think he'd maybe post better numbers in terms of goals and assists here in a more dominant team, compared to obviously where he's at now. But I know much really about to add. I think you look at, like I said, bottom left, they all seem to be more finishers, better finishers. You look at the top right, ball carriers, people who maybe got a wee bit of magic in their feet, creating a wee bit more than what the other ones on the left would.
Yep, would agree. Also want to note that we're on the Mashwinishi train for being really good everywhere. Old Starboy Tillman's been great everywhere so far. Miss him so much, man. Last what area is till he's kept him in it. Oh, I thought he took him at it. Oh, look at him. So last one, guys. This is fouls. So fouls suffered. So fouls 1 per 90 minutes. And touches in the box per 90 minutes. So again, as we've said, with varying positions and stuff, this could and will vary. And then obviously your green and reds are your averages. Let's have a wee look. Andrew, start with you, mate. What do you like?
So I think with touches in box per 90, there are different ways of looking at this. So typically you would expect a player getting more touches in the box is going to get more goals and assists or second assists. But there's another way of looking at it. You could see it as a matter of efficiency. So obviously we see Maswinishi in that bottom right quadrant. So he's not getting a lot of touches in the box, but we know he's the top scorer in the league. Maybe the second top. I'm not sure if Shankland has more. Either way, we know he's an incredibly efficient goal scorer. So, yeah, like I said, different ways of looking at that. Maswinishi again stands out. A lot of fouls suffered without a lot of touches of the ball, although these are touches in the box, I guess. So it just underlines my feeling that Maswinishi is an incredibly efficient goal scorer that I'd love to see. Guigon as well looks like a similar player in that box. He's not getting a lot of touches in the box, but we know his numbers were pretty good. Maybe that's a reflection of playing for a weaker team in his league. I'm not so sure. I'm not sure how much to add. I feel like with this graph, I'd quite like to see the players sized by goals plus assists to see the efficiency with those touches in the box. I'm not so surprised to see Gassama with a lot of touches in the box, Tillman with a lot of touches in the box, but we know Tillman was a lot more effective with those touches than Gassama is, which I think demonstrates my point of there's context to those touches that we need to know.
Very first, Stephen, anything you want to add, mate? Anybody you like?
Again, mate, not too much to add to it. Again, like Andrew said, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. Whether the touches in the box are efficiency, are them being efficient, or if they're taking 3-4 touches in the box when they really should be getting the ball at their feet and just having a dig. That's something that that we've all sort of labelled Gassama with. He needs to be better with his decision making, particularly in the final third. Redzic obviously got a decent number of touches in the box. He's fouls per night he suffered, and we all say he's posted. I think he's a goal every 2 games so far. So obviously good numbers for the boy. So there's a couple of different ways to look at it. Obviously, whether they're getting more touches in the box because you're playing for an attacking team, or whether they're getting less in the box, but they're still posting good numbers. Obviously, Perot bottom left again there. But he's obviously the best, maybe not the best goal scorer in the players we've looked at. But obviously, his goals are obviously a lot higher for last season than the rest of the boys probably would be. So, for me, mate, it's there's not much more to add. I think there's a couple of different aspects that graph that you would look at and sort of have to break down per player. But again, couple of players that we're looking at standing out, Bermancevic, particularly in that one, Masvinisi and Redzic for me. Obviously, some pretty decent numbers in there.
I would agree, mate. I think when you're looking at wingers, and it looks as if you're going to be looking to sign wingers who can come inside that kind of Czerny vibe. So you look at Czerny over there, not a lot of touches in the box, but we knew how effective he was at even shooting for the edge of the box. So Perot, as we said, Perot's probably getting most goals out of anybody in that list. 19 goals in the championship for that season. So, as you said, it could be about efficiency or how many touches you are taking. Redzic out of the kind of ones like looks pretty good, but then Giagon might be the one who's cutting in. And I mean, he was a volume shooter, as we saw, so popping shots for J box. Again, it's not a bad thing, especially we'll play against a lot of teams who will sit in. So sometimes you do have to have a pop for distance. So guys, that was our last graph, and this was the final. So we'll shoot through this quickly. So Gassama, obviously our best winger. So we've compared them to all 6 players that we discussed. So it's Perot. The top 3 is left to right is Perot, Masvinisi, and Redzic, and then Giagon, Bermancevic, and Cepeda are the bottom 3 left to right. Guys, I'll bring us in quickly. Stephen, anything you like, mate? Anything you don't like?
Also, not take too much time up. I think you can see the profile of the player by looking at the sort of comparisons there compared to Gassama. You've got the two in the far right and even Guigon on the bottom left there. All dribblers of the ball, run with it, create more rather than goals and assists, rather than just goals. They're maybe a creative player. And then you've got your Bermancevic, Perot, Masvinisi, obviously, who then maybe don't carry the ball as much, or obviously at all really, when you look at Perot, but they post a lot better numbers in terms of their goals and assists compared to Gassama. So you can see, I think you can see the two different type of profiles of players that we've sort of covered there with the video here, mate. So I don't think there's too much more to add.
Would agree, Andrew. Any final thoughts, mate?
I assume that's Giagon on the bottom left, right?
Yes, it is, mate.
Yeah. This looks very impressive from him, all the way out to the edge on all of them. I'm still sticking with Masvinisi as my favourite signing here. So Masvinisi on the left, Giagon on the, Masvinisi on the right, Giagon on the left. Sounds like a good couple of transfers to me.
Would agree with that, mate. Even if obviously Andrew's picked Masvinisi, if you were to pick one out of 6, mate, what would your thoughts be? Who would you think you would go for?
To be honest, mate, going off what we've seen of the boys, the two that I've seen the most of probably are Bermancevic and Masvinisi. Out of the two of them, you probably edge toward Masvinisi just purely because you know what he can post in this sort of league. Bermancevic maybe is obviously a few years older, so probably edging towards Masvinisi. Perot was obviously a good player, technically a very good player, so it's a hard one, mate, but out of depending on what you're looking for, probably Masvinisi for me as well, mate.
And
I think
Bredsik's numbers are great as well, it should be said.
that was my final thoughts, mate.
Yeah.
He literally dwarfs Gassama numbers wise, and obviously different leagues and different contexts and stuff, but obviously playing for a good team in probably a lesser league, but very good numbers. So folks, this obviously is going to be a longer video, but we are going to wrap this up. That brings us to the end. So looking at attackers, obviously it seemed kind of we're going to gather pace, especially kind of the four we spoke about who are linked. Be interesting if we can get a couple of those over the line. So we'll just wrap this up. Stephen, pleasure as always, mate. Good to have you.
Cheers for having us, mate.
Not a problem, Andrew. Absolute pleasure, mate. Enjoyed the three-way tandem, mate.
It's been good to get a bit of scouting and analysis done. It's a good hobby of mine. So yeah, first of many, hopefully.
It'll be good to have you back, mate. So folks, we'll wrap this up. And always remember, every night is a Rangers Journal night.